Coming up this week on the Course of Life podcast, we're recapping a very fun, entertaining, and slightly controversial week at Torrey Pines for the Farmers Insurance Open. We also had a friend of the show in the field too. Plus, of course, it is Super Bowl week, aka Waste Management Open week. So busy week of golf, food, and fun is in store. We've got you fully covered in honor of Super Bowl weekend. We've got a pro bowler on as well, too. Darren Tang is our guest this week. Really cool chat with him, talking about his YouTube vlogs, favorites on and off the course, and more. We finish with our Super Bowl matchup thoughts, some prop bets to play, and our food plans. And all of it is brought to you by our friends at FlightScope. And Mike, you and I, we pop Golf Channel on. You can see the commercials all the time with Bubba and Bryson talking about how easy and how portable and how dependable this FlightScope Mevo unit is. And that's because it's the real deal. And we love our friends at FlightScope and what they do. I've got my own Mevo, and it's great for practice in the backyard. It immediately tells you the yardages you need to know, exactly how far you're hitting the ball, and all the precise, concise data you need for your golf game. So the FlightScope Mevo can be yours at 10% off. The promo code is COL10 at FlightScopeGolf.com. Again, FlightScope and the Mevo unit to make your game better all around. The data you need from FlightScope Golf. Promo code COL10 for 10% off your Mevo today.
Interwebs, and welcome to Course of Life, part of the Morning Read Podcast Network. We are proud to be presented by our friends at Desert Fox Golf and Groove It Golf. I'm Michael, he's Alex. And Alex, it was golf was back in 2021 on CBS at Torrey Pines.
That's right.
A lot to go over this week. Let's start with the biggest storyline out of the infamous course, and that, of course, is Patrick. I probably wasn't this time, but I usually do cheat Reed.
Yes, Patrick Reed back in the headlines, and I love how it's such a headline and such a story that you just skip over the fact that he won the tournament too. That's how it tells you how big this story got.
I mean, he won by 5 strokes, so
he did impressive stuff. 7,700-yard course, tall, rough, great test there all week at Torrey Pines, and Patrick Reed with a 5-shot win, but overshadowed completely by what went down on Saturday. Just for the 30-second synopsis for whoever missed it or need to get caught up. Essentially, he hit a ball into the rough. The cameras on TV clearly caught that the ball bounced upon landing. What Patrick Reed tried to claim when he got up to the ball is that the ball was completely embedded, plugged into the ground, absolutely could not be hit. I need relief from this. He quickly and in a rushed manner gave himself the relief. The TV cameras caught up with later, and it turned into just a complete shitstorm on Twitter, and social media and golf Twitter went absolutely nuts.
Well, let's keep in mind, he gave himself relief, but after calling over a rules official. I mean, he did everything textbook that you would do during a plugging event. However, I'm just confused around this, like, what do we consider a plug? Any indent into the ground? Because
Right.
he talked about lifting the ball and then placing his fingers in the indent and could feel that there was a lip. And it's like, what?
Yeah, you and I have played many a wet, soppy New England course in off-season conditions and know what an embedded ball truly looks like. We've seen balls splash in the middle of the fairway before. And when that ball plugs and you get the mud all over it and it's literally sunken into the ground, that's when you and I know, like, okay, this is a lift clean place, embedded ball, you're good. For a ball to bounce out of the rough, Mike, once it's taken that bounce, there's no way it's going to embed like you and I truly know an embedded ball to be.
Even Patrick Reed said balls don't embed when they bounce.
Yes. Yeah, he really put his foot in his mouth with a couple comments there. And the thing that I have to mention, because I mentioned how much of a shitstorm this was on Twitter, the Patrick, maybe Justine Reed burner Twitter account really came into the limelight this weekend. You can find it. It's Use Golf Facts on Twitter. It has been essentially a weird, very hypercritical golf anonymous Twitter account for a while that we suspected had something to do with Patrick Reed because they were always siding with Patrick Reed, and got very vocal in the last couple of days as well, pointing the fingers at Rory McIlroy for a similar scenario. And a lot of people called the burner burner out, and there was a lot of fun to be had on that part.
I mean, look, I question the issue I always have with any of these rules issues like this that happen is that you are one of the leaders on a Saturday at Torrey Pines. This whole thing was caught on camera. So why don't we go to the truck, find the camera, and see what happened, and then you can look at it and you can say, that ball bounced, so it didn't plug. So no.
Yeah, I know. And that's kind of a little bit of a parallel conversation to the way we talk about instant replay in other sports too. Mm-hmm. It's like, do we want to, then we get into, do we stop everything, Mike? Do you want to stop everything for 3 to 5 minutes and let the truck, review that live and have Patrick Reed wait there so we get the official ruling and understand that we're proceeding exactly as needed to, so we don't have this issue after the fact, and then kind of maybe slow down play a little bit on that particular hole. It's tricky. How do we find the balance there when negotiating these type of scenarios?
I think it really won't slow down play because we saw it live, so that you have guys out there on course plugged into the truck. You just have the rules official go, did you see the ball bounce? And they're immediately going to get to the truck and get back because the truck's going to be like, yes, the ball bounced immediately because they saw it. They know what happened. Yeah,
very interesting take there. It's an interesting story we're going to follow for the next few weeks. This is not the last you've heard of this for sure. And again, like I tweeted, I'm at Course of Life 1, you're at MWRINC, and we were talking about this during the weekend. Rory's Rory and Patrick Reed is Patrick Reed. This guy has got a reputation that precedes itself in terms of moving around the rules of the game and skirting things. There's been cheating allegations around Patrick Reed for a while. And lots of, dragging the sand in the bunker. We highlighted that story back in the day, Mike, earlier in this podcast live. So these things have been going on for a while, and they definitely resurface around Reed for sure. I want to talk about the CBS broadcast though, because you mentioned that at the top. They started things on Saturday. You'll appreciate this because that the opening, a new producer's at the helm, a new CBS broadcast. Here we go, Saturday afternoon. They did a cold open mic. No, they didn't hit the theme music for a while, and they went right into this Twitter Patrick Reed drama for about 20 or 30 minutes. So a very interesting, auspicious start to the new CBS golf broadcast era.
Yeah, I mean, you should be talking about what is noteworthy, which is definitely Patrick Reed. And the broadcast was interesting. We had a full-time leaderboard bug now on screen, so you don't need to wait for a commercial break to know who's actually leading if you don't want to take your phone out, which is nice. And probably arguably the most controversial thing, new music, new theme song.
New jams. It hurts me a little bit there.
We've been used to the old song for about 5 years now. Jury's out for me still on this new one. It's I don't hate it, but it's no NBA on NBC.
Oh yes, you're talking about the round ball rock, right?
Yes.
Yes. They've completely abominated that song now, Mike. That they now use that NBA on NBC theme for like second tier Big East college basketball games on Fox Sports 1 on Saturday afternoon. So that song's definitely lost its luster as it moved. I'm curious to see if over time I grow fond of this new CBS golf music.
I mean, I'm sure we're going to have it for about 5 years, but
yeah. So the broadcast, a little bit more geeked out, a little bit more analytics added. I like the new leaderboard. We'll have to get used to the music, but CBS Golf back with Torrey Pines. We have to shout out a friend of ours and a friend of the show who was in the field as a last second addition. Mike, we've been highlighting that Farmers and also the Genesis Open have been giving some special exemptions through the Tiger Woods Foundation as well, too, to grow the diversity in the game. They had originally given the exemption to Kamau Johnson to play this week at Torrey Pines. He tested positive for COVID earlier in the week of the tournament. So on Tuesday afternoon, our friend and former guest of the show, Willie Mack, got the call to go play at Torrey Pines. A really cool story to see.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible, just to get that opportunity to hit the PGA Tour at Torrey Pines, which is arguably one of the biggest events of the year that's not a major. So really, really cool to see him out there playing. And he got some screen time, too. So
he did. Yeah, I sent you a couple clips. Had a nice front nine on Thursday. A couple lackluster finishes, he'll admit, on Thursday and Friday. Got it cleaned up there, but shout out to Willie Mack. He did miss the cut, but fortunately, Mike, we're going to see him again because he still has that exemption we talked about on last week's episode. He's still in at the Genesis as well at Riviera. Mm-hmm. I saw he posted. He's already there, Mike. He's already gotten in a practice round at Riviera for that tournament coming up in a couple weeks. So we'll be sure to highlight his next effort on the PGA Tour coming up real soon.
Love it. Let's also shout out real quick our picks from the week at the Farmers Insurance. We both were flirting with having a winner in January, but no avail. What do you think? Are we going to break through soon? I mean, I had Adam Scott, you had Victor Hovland. They both were real close for most of the weekend. What do we got to do to win here? What do we got to do?
It felt like with Victor Hovland's week, he was sitting right in that perfect spot where the whole world was rooting for Patrick Reed to choke, and he could have fallen into the victory. I totally thought that was going to happen on Sunday, but it didn't. And Adam Scott had a couple of costly bogeys on Sunday, which knocked him out of contention. By the way, Mike, Adam Scott now with like gray hair and his sideburns, we're getting old. That scared me right there. See that this weekend on TV. But yeah, we came close. I mean, coming up to segue to what's coming up this week. This is a week that, like, you and I now know very well from what we've done in the podcast here in the last couple of years. Tournament we put a lot of focus into, and I got to go to it last year. So you would think if there's anywhere where we can notch that first W in 2021, it would be in Scottsdale, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're not going to have the same raucous, massive crowds, but we will have somewhere between 5,000 and 7,000 fans a day on course in Scottsdale. You being there, and the fans are such a big part of this tournament. How do you think it's going to play without that huge crowd?
Yeah, the vibe is very interesting. So first of note, I find it interesting, Mike, that the field is like suspiciously stacked and good this year. Almost as if maybe some of these players enjoy coming to Scottsdale and playing the course, but don't love the raucousness of 100,000 drunk golf fans on a Saturday and Sunday. So it's I don't know if maybe that's a reason why the field got a little bit better, but the vibe's going to be very different this year. Out of those, I don't know, 5,000 to 7,000, Mike, I don't know, what do you think? 4,000 all around the 16th hole, probably?
Very likely. Very likely.
Hopefully as spaced out as they can be. And then the rest of the course, if you get a ticket to that event, the rest of that course, that'll just be private viewing for you out there in Scottsdale if you want to avoid the crowds at 16. So I'd encourage you to check out the whole 18 because it's a great track to walk, which I did last year. So it'll be interesting just to hear roars and crowd back and just applause, because you got to remember these PGA Tour pros now, they haven't really heard that to any notable extent in months. So it's going to be some new audio just for golf fans in general too.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it'll spook anybody. I think maybe it'll be a welcome addition back to the course. But we'll see how they all play. It's going to be interesting. And because we're here, let's just shout out too that you can go back into our archives, listen to some of your interviews that you did last year at Scottsdale and talk about the trip. About a year ago. Just go back a year in the archives. We'll link it in the description as well, where you can
exactly listen. That was content for months. Remember, I was rolling out interviews through the beginning of the coronavirus from my trip to Scottsdale at the end of January. Mike, we got to post obviously my historic flop shot that I hit on camera next to Aaron Olson. Make sure we get that up there because I love bragging about that. That's still my most viewed Instagram video to date, by the way.
There you go.
Number
there
one.
You go.
Maybe some food with AZ Food Guy as well too. We had those gigantic bratwursts and the massive pretzel, which was like bigger than the size of your computer screen. So fun memories there from last year's trip. Definitely check out the archives for the interviews and our Instagrams for content as well. It's at COL Podcast, and you can find me at Course of Life Alex, and you're at MWRINC.
Before we get into what we're looking at in terms of who might win at the Phoenix Open, let's talk about the Euro Tour because they are back and they're doing a little return to where they ended back in Dubai.
Yeah, they did the flip. Basically, they start the season where they end. Race to Dubai kind of gets going here unofficially. And it was a good field. Paul Casey got another win. That's a guy we've shouted out a bunch on this podcast. He's won a couple of Valspars now. He's been in contention a lot. So at 43 years old, good to see him win again. But I really wanted to mention this because there's a lot of guys over there that are just going to stay in Europe for, it seems, this entire West Coast swing. A lot of popular, European players quite haven't made the trip over. Some of them, for different reasons, some just not quite comfortable getting over to the U.S. full time with everything going on. So they're sticking put there. And with Saudi Arabia tournament, that's literally the oil money tournament where they just throw millions of dollars at all the best golfers in the world. We remember DJ went over there last year and was controversial. And we've got a little bit of that playing out this week with who's going to be in Phoenix versus who's going to continue to play in Europe. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
It will indeed. We'll keep an eye on it. Let's get into this weekend's Waste Management Phoenix Open. Defending champion Webb Simpson, who's usually easy money whenever you want to put $1 down. He's back
You're
in the
be
field.
tempted, aren't you? You're tempted already. I can tell.
I'm always also tempted to put money down on Jordan Spieth, but maybe he'll finally return to form. But let's just kick that to the curb right now. What are your thoughts on Webb Simpson? Can he repeat?
I know you and I are kind of Jordan Spieth stands, and his odds just get better. So you look at the beginning of the week, you're like, Jordan Spieth 90-1 odds to win. I have to, right? It just it doesn't sound right, but sad state of his game right now. Yeah, like I said, a sneaky good field here. I mean, guys that I'm looking at who played well here in the past. Daniel Berger's played well here before. Sung J M, Hideki Matsuyama, past champion. Those are guys that could potentially be on my card at Course of Life 1. The funny part about this all, you'll remember I was there last year. I had Tony Finau on my card last year to win the Waste Management. As I watched him on Saturday take the lead, I fly home and then watch the finish on Sunday. He broke our hearts this time last year and fell short to Webb Simpson in that playoff. Tony Finau, you'd think would be a great pick this week. He played well last week. He's been playing well recently. He's so due, the most due player to win on tour ever. He's going to Saudi Arabia, Mike. He's not even playing in Phoenix this week. Can you believe that?
It's okay.
The money calls, I guess. The money talks.
Yes, so. It does. Money talks, but at the same time, you got a guy like Brooks Koepka who seems to only care about the money. And he missed the cut last week. He's in the field at the Waste Management Phoenix Open this week. Is his game going to come back? Or is he like, we don't care about him outside of a major anymore?
Yeah, I know. Seriously. It sometimes feels that way. He looked very, very off this past week at Torrey. Quick miscut, sloppy around the greens. I wonder if he's trying to feed off a crowd, maybe get a little bit of blood going through his veins, getting into this field. I don't think he's played in this many recent years. So it'll be interesting to see how he fares. Again, full card's going to be at Course of Life 1 on Twitter. You're at MWRNC, so you'll take a couple of my picks, but I shouted out a few guys there. Watch out for Hideki as a past champion, Sung J M as well, too. Guys that have been on my radar recently could get over the top this week at the Waste Management.
Let's flip over to Tuned In, where we share what we're tuning into outside of the world of sports. For me, now that we have some sort of normalcy in Washington, where the headlines coming out don't feel like I'm actually reading The Onion every day. Yes. I've gotten into, I watched it back in the day. I watched season 1 back when I had HBO a number of years ago. It just got HBO Max, so I'm back into watching Veep. And it really is hilarious. And of course, it features a Seinfeld alum. So, there's just an immediate in for us.
Yeah, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, she's kind of getting timeless in terms of actresses right now. Like, will she ever age a day? It's unbelievable. Like, she's in her 50s now. It's insane how time flies, but she's still crushing it. And I'm glad to hear that you're not triggered anymore by watching political shows, even if they are built in falsehoods. I appreciate that you're able to watch Veep now and not get triggered. So congratulations for you for turning the corner there.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I'm going to shout out a past guest as well who we had on recently, Trysta Krick from Barstool Sports. Funny new series that they put together very creatively here called Surviving Barstool, where basically the concept is they're doing kind of a Survivor style reality show series at the Barstool Sports office in New York City with 8 employees, including Trysta. They putting out episodes all week in honor of Super Bowl week content. My question for you, Mike, is if you had to basically, let's say you go in, with, basic food and supply needs in your phone, and you had to get locked into your place of work for 1 week, would you last? How do you think you'd fare in that environment?
I've always kind of valued myself as being a pretty patient person. So I think I'd be okay.
It's really, honestly, what I'm noticing as I'm watching the episodes this week is it's the sleeping arrangements. So there's like a few couches, and they actually have like, if you win a challenge, you get immunity into like a nice little lounge, like with some comfy couches and blankets and pillows. But other than that, you're sleeping like on the floor, and you're putting couch cushions on the floor, just like we did when we were kids. So it can get pretty rough out there. So shout out to Trysta on Surviving Barstool. You can check out the episodes on YouTube, but it's been entertaining to say the least.
Let's get into this week's guest. Alex, you got connected to our first professional bowler that appeared on the podcast, Marshall Kent, through another past guest, Lindsey Hoskins. And Marshall spends a lot of time training and on the road with this week's guest, Darren Tang.
That's right. Yeah. Marshall and Darren are part of Darren's vlogs, which I know you appreciate as well, too. Darren talks about doing the vlogs and following his entire career and getting into editing, and really what it takes to be a professional bowler. He's gotten into some golf as well, too. I've seen him out on the course there with Marshall and Lindsay. So he talks about his golf game as well and a whole lot more. It's a really fun conversation with a cool guy coming up in the world of bowling.
That conversation with Darren Tang is coming up in just a moment. But first, as always, we want to let you know that it's brought to you by our friends at Groove It Golf, makers of the Groove It Golf brush. It's still January, so it's still time to make sure you're on top of your New Year's resolution for 2021, which we are telling you needs to be to keep your club face clean. The Groove It brush makes that easy with a built-in pump inside the brush that sprays water or cleaning solution right onto the club face for quick and efficient cleaning wherever you are. The average brush is stuck to the bag. The Groove It has detachable magnets that make it easy to use. You can bring the brush to the club instead of the club to the brush. Plus, the brush comes with a 3-year bristle guarantee. You can wear out the brush head cleaning golf clubs in 3 years, set it back, and Groove It will give you a free replacement. Now that is reliability. So prepare to be amazed with the consistency and control that clean grooves will give you. Using your existing golf clubs with the Groove It, you'll get the spin trajectory and consistency you're looking for. So head on over to their website, grooveitbrush.com, and get your Groove It brush today.
Next up on the tee, we've got a professional bowler. The second one we featured on the Course of Life podcast, based in Las Vegas. He now has 9 PBA regional wins on tour, All-American bowling, now on the PBA tour full-time. It's Darren Tang joining the Course of Life. Darren, how you doing today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Love the Bowl DMC hat you're rocking as well, too. So it's yourself and your brother, Mike, who started really early in life bowling. You've got bowling in your background with your family, just like our past guest, Marshall Kent, does as well, too. Tell me about the background and your parents running a bowling center.
Yeah. Actually, my parents didn't run a bowling center. We started when I was 8. We started at the same time. I'm 2.5 years older than my brother. My dad owned a pro shop before I was born.
Oh, okay.
And when we started bowling, well, actually before that, my mom bowled league every week. So we were in the bowling center pretty frequently. When we started bowling juniors, my mom took the junior director position, and she's now a special events coordinator for a bowling center.
Very cool. Nice. Where is that located specifically?
California in Pacifica, Seabowl. My dad doesn't have the pro shop anymore. He ended up selling that. Or the bowling center actually closed down before I was born. So we had the all the pro shop equipment in our garage for the longest time. We had no idea what it was growing up.
I was going to ask what the best perk of the pro shop was, is you eventually got that windfall of merchandise that was sitting in the garage. You finally unearthed it when you started bowling.
Yeah. He actually sold the drill press before we started bowling competitively. So all the stuff was gone before we could really understand what it was.
Nice. Well, you come around now and your YouTube's very educational in addition to what we see from you and your bowling on Fox Sports, FS1, all the appearances you've had on tour. Talk to me about yourself and your brother Mike bowling. I'm sure you get a million questions about that. What's like the most asked or overdone question about, so what's it like to bowl with your brother on tour?
I think I've got 2. The second one you're probably not going to see coming. The first one obviously is who's better. And I never directly answer the question. I just say, look at the numbers.
There you go.
And then the second question is, are you guys twins?
Yes.
And I mean,
and confirmed you're not 2.5 year age difference, right?
Yeah, I'd like to think that we look nothing alike, but I guess people outside of our culture kind of see most of us as looking similar. So it is what it is. We take it for how it's dealt, and we just kind of let it brush off our shoulders.
Now, I enjoy the relationship and following it as well, too. My wife was a college bowler, and she got me into watching it a lot on TV in the last several years. So I've seen kind of your relationship and career grow. It's interesting that you've talked about how, when you were brothers growing up, you were just like brothers were, very competitive, wanted to be the brains out of each other. But as you kind of become pros, you've worked a little bit more together. Explain how that relationship kind of now works for you guys to both benefit off each other's careers and your vision as well.
Yeah, we've always been very competitive, but at a young age, we kind of got over that sibling, I don't want to say rivalry, more like we stopped butting heads at a pretty young age. We understood that if we we would both get better and benefit from helping each other rather than just trying to beat the piss out of each other all the time. So we actually are partners in the doubles competition, the annual PBA event. So that's a big one we look forward to every year. But as far as just moving forward and growing with each other, we live with each other for the majority of our lives. So we've always practiced together and we're able to help each other out. And I think that's been a big key factor in a lot of the success we've had. But the last couple of years, we've been living in different parts of the country. So I'd like to think I'm still doing all right. He's struggling a little bit. I don't know if it's because we're living apart now, but I'm sure he'll figure it out soon.
Yeah, maybe he needs to come back, maybe just for a quick trip or something like that. Doesn't need to be full time, but appreciate the companionship there. I love that. And so not only in addition to what I see from you and your brother on the PBA tour is really cool, following the progression of your career, I love what you're doing with your audience. Let's first talk about the way you profile your career on YouTube. There's lots of other sports and professional athletes out there, but not many really document their journey the way that you are. What kind of first inspired you to vlog and do YouTube videos surrounding your career?
Yeah, I was initially inspired by Brad and Kyle. Their YouTube channel's pretty big now. They're incoming on, I think, 100,000 subs. But I wanted to do something different initially, something that would allow me to interact directly with the community. And that's when I thought of Twitch. And at that time, I didn't really watch a whole lot of streamers. So I wasn't really sure how to go about doing it. I did a lot of research, started watching a lot of streams. And at that point, I went, okay, this is what we got to do. I fortunately had a friend that is big into building PCs and knows a lot about the tech stuff. So he helped me out a lot there. And then I didn't want to start YouTube until I found someone who could either edit for me or hire as an edit or teach me how to edit. And then a few months ago, somebody reached out. We started working together and he's actually teaching me how to edit as well. So that's where we got the ball videos and the vlogs coming through. So hopefully we'll be pumping out relevant and informational content for as long as we're doing this.
Love that. Yeah, the editing is quite a masterful art that I've yet to conquer. My co-host Michael does a much better job on that stuff, so that's why we're the team that we are. So I appreciate you outsourcing that, and it looks like you're going to learn pretty soon to do your own videos. But talk about the streaming specifically. One cool thing that I noticed that you do with videos is you'll look back and do reaction videos where you're kind of like, third person commentating, different matches that you've had and walking people through scenarios. It's interesting because bowlers don't show a ton of like immediate reaction in the moment in the match. So what do you kind of get out of that? Not only as a streamer, but maybe yourself kind of looking back from an audience perspective and seeing what you're doing out there in the alley?
Yeah, I think it just provides a lot of insight because as someone on the outside looking in, you have no idea what's going on in someone's head during the moment, why they make a move they do, why they react the way they did. And I think it's really refreshing to be able to provide that insight to people that are fans or just watching to learn.
What do you notice, like as far as yourself, a bowler? Like, are there any little things that you pick up? Are you like, if you put this in golf terms for our golfing audience, are you like going back and over analyzing your form on each shot? Are you just watching the way pins fall? What are you most looking for, kind of from a professional bowler looking to get better perspective when you watch those videos back? Yeah,
I'm a very analytic person, so I'll look back at every single event I bowl. I'll try to fill in the gaps, see where I could have been better, whether it's how many spares I missed, how many times I missed the transition, just things like that, how many bad shots per game. And I'm looking at the same thing when I bowl on these TV shows, but more so than just those, kind of tangible things. I'm looking at demeanor, how I'm carrying myself versus how someone who wins a lot carries themselves. So if I can carry myself in a similar manner to the guys that are winning, I feel like that's the biggest thing that'll help me step through that door.
Love that. Yeah. Again, it's Darren Tang. You got the YouTube channel up. You're doing lots of Twitch streams as well, like you mentioned. A lot of cool platforms, and it makes you really connectable to the audience, which I know a lot of people out there appreciate. Let's talk about a funny statement that gets very controversial, but I know you have a good, strong opinion on it. And it's bowlers are athletes. Tell everyone why bowlers are athletes, because it's something you definitely bring up, and why the world needs to understand actually kind of the athletic ability that goes into the sport.
Yeah. So you watch other sports like baseball, basketball, soccer, all these mainstream sports, and you sit at home and go, "Wow, I couldn't do that if I tried." Right?
Absolutely.
This past weekend, I think proved that bowling is a sport, because I don't think any just average normal person can walk into the bowling center and bowl 28 games over a weekend and go, "Oh yeah, I bowled great and I feel fine," because my hand was torn to shreds. My body was aching. It was it takes a lot physically, more so than most people think.
Yeah, there's some serious wear and tear for sure. I'm glad that you're bringing that up too. It's like, it's very similar to like, when you do a full day at the driving range, you get the calluses on your hands. Tell me about the bowling hand. I know you and Marshall have joked about it, about the way your left hand looks versus your right hand. What's the difference there?
Yeah, I've got calluses. I mean, I've got calluses on both, from obviously golf and working out as well. But the number of calluses on my right hand compared to my left it's probably a good maybe 5 times more, and they're much bigger. So it's it's just putting in those reps, and that's where the calluses come from.
Nice. In terms of bowlers are athletes too. I saw you or someone else had posted some picture of you guys playing pickup basketball as well too, once at a tournament site. I'm curious, out of all the guys out on tour on the PBA tour, who is like the most like athletic? Like, when I think of the PGA tour, I think maybe like Dustin Johnson or Gary Woodland, or guys that are like, could be really serious athletes outside of golf. Who else is like sneaky, a really good athlete outside of bowling?
Yeah. A few guys come to mind, just inside our little group of guys in what we call the house.
Yeah.
My brother's one of them. He's kind of a freak of nature. He could pick up basically anything that he wants. He was a pretty naturally gifted golfer. He played basketball in high school. We played baseball for a season when we were younger. He can literally do anything he wants to athletically. Chris Vi, we call him the Hulk because for a while there he was getting jacked. Like, the dude was huge. And it actually turned out wasn't very good for his bowling because it limited flexibility.
Oh, was that kind of a Bryson DeChambeau path a little bit?
Kind of, yeah, kind of. Except I don't think the working out was geared for bowling. It was just to get big.
Ah, okay.
So I think if it becomes a little more focused towards bowling, it could be very effective. Endurance wise, at least, performing at a high level for longer. Definitely useful.
And the house guys, are you guys all living together now, or just some of you, or where is the house literally?
So the house was derived from us staying together in Airbnbs.
Oh, okay.
But funny enough, not all the members of the house have actually stayed together at the same time for one tournament.
Yep. One day we'll get them all together.
One day. I mean, that's a lot of guys in one house. We're going to have to find a place with like 4 or 5 bathrooms.
Yeah, not enough bathrooms. Seriously, love that. Again, we're talking with Darren Tang, professional bowler on the PBA tour here on Course of Life. Let's get to that golf part too, because I know I found you. I know I'd seen you on TV for years as a bowler, but I hadn't seen you pick up a golf club until recently. When did you first start playing golf? Had you played much at a younger age, or was it just now recently?
I've actually got a pretty funny story, and I really regret the decision I made as a kid growing up. So we've always kind of dabbled in a lot of different sports, but 2 of them were golf and bowling. And all the way up till I was 12, I was playing golf and bowling at the same time. But my dad was pretty strict, pretty harsh. So I figured I didn't want to handle him coaching me at more than one sport. So I picked one over the other. I ended up picking bowling. I stopped playing golf because I was like, this is just my dad's yelling at me all the time. This just isn't fun. So I didn't want to do it anymore. And, those developing years are like ages, 8 to like 16.
Yeah.
So I missed the whole window of just development and, that time where I could pick up on things really quick and just hang on to it. So I didn't play golf for another 6 years. I picked up a club again when I was 18. When I was in college, actually, I took a golf class, which really didn't teach me anything, but that's kind of where I started playing again. I played maybe 2 or 3 rounds a year. So I didn't really take it seriously until probably this past year. I ended up buying a fitted set for myself. I think before that, the past 9 years, I was playing with a Ram set from Dick's Sporting Goods. So my brother actually convinced me to get fitted clubs because he said it makes a big difference. Because the way I saw it was, it's like professional bowlers throwing house balls, with professional golfers using clubs that aren't fitted to them. But that I learned that's actually not the case, because we could probably go out bowl a league with a house ball and average 220. Yeah. My brother was like, if I used your set, I probably couldn't break 90. And he's in like the low 80s, high 70s.
Oh, okay.
And cool. My brother, by the way, didn't stop playing golf. So he played all the way through high school. So he was, like I said, really athletically gifted and talented.
Yeah, that's impressive.
But I picked up the golf again. I started recording scores on an app to the best of my abilities with all the penalty strokes and all that. And I think I'm at like a plus 17 at the moment.
Okay, cool. So you got some work to do, but obviously off to a good start there in the link. So the connection from me to you was we originally had on Lindsay Hoskins, who's the director of instruction at Topgolf Vegas. And she said in our conversation that, yeah, she, teaching a lot of the bowlers, and talked to some bowlers that she hangs out with in town. I was like, that's awesome. That's how I got connected to Marshall and eventually you. And I know you've gotten the chance to get out and play with them several times in the Vegas area, and probably some other places too. What are kind of your biggest takeaways when you get out and you play with the two of them who've kind of got more rounds under their belt, obviously? Yeah, they're definitely, especially Marshall. He's putting a lot of work into that, so he's getting pretty good. But most of the time I'm just along for the ride, enjoying the rounds, enjoying the courses. That's definitely something I'm grateful for them. I've probably gotten to play a lot of courses I'd never get to play because of just knowing and hanging out with them. We recently played Cascada, which was really cool. Oh, wow. But yeah, I kind of just try to pick up what I can when I can. I pick their brains, and I'm really not trying to shoot super low scores. I'm just trying to get better. That's good. That's a smart way to keep the mindset, because if you get too score obsessed, it'll ruin your brain, to be honest. So you're definitely the same in bowling. Right mental frame of mind right there. In terms of what do you guys do out there? Do you guys keep it competitive at all, or do they give you a certain amount of strokes per round when you go play a course? Where's that sit at right now? Never with Marshall, because I don't think it's fair both ways. Because if he's on a heater one day, then obviously I'm going to lose. But if I happen to be having a good day and he's giving me like a stroke a hole, I'm going to run him over. Okay. But there's one other bowler that we play with. Him and I are actually pretty close in skill. He's beaten me by 1 the last 3 rounds, but the round prior I beat him by 15. So it's definitely closer than the round we had that 15 stroke difference. But I put a little bit of money on the line. Nice. Got to in Vegas. I appreciate that. What's your favorite aspect of golfing? Just out of curiosity, is there a particular shot or type of scenario that you kind of relish in the most when you're on the course? What are you enjoying the most when you're playing right now? Definitely long drives. I feel like everyone likes to hit bombs. Yep. I did have favoring conditions. My longest drive now is 345 yards. Love that. Definitely not a distance I ever thought that I would get to anytime soon. But that was pretty cool. Yeah, we had helping wind. I actually don't think it was downhill very much, but the winds were pretty strong. It's funny. It was a 470 yard par 4, and I was like, man, if I hit this one good, I might have like 190 in, and that's that range that I'm really not good with the long irons. And then, I hit it and I had 125 in, so that was pretty funny. Cool. Yeah. So just tell me a little bit about that, the record drive you had. How long was that? Yeah, 345 yards. We had 470 to the center, I think. I was really just worried about having a decent distance in, because that 170 to 200 yard range just isn't my best. Yeah. I think the long irons are where I struggle the most. Feel you there. But I ended up having 125 in, and it was really, actually, I'm getting my holes mixed up, but I think I ended up 3 or 4 jacking for bogey or double. Of course, that's the way it always goes, right? Yeah. The game gives you those moments like that, and then it takes them back all in the same hole. It's wonderful. Absolutely. In terms of golf bowling comparisons, I asked a question to Marshall when I had him on, and he talked a little bit about kind of like the spin of the golf ball and the spin of the bowling ball and how he sees correlations there. When you look at the two, obviously having experience in both now, is there anything you take away from your motion in the golf swing that you can use for bowling or vice versa? And where do you see any similarities, if anything? It's actually really funny because there's a lot of professional bowlers that do golf, and you can see similar mannerisms in both swings. Like, for example, my bowling timing is pretty early. And it kind of reflects in my
golf as well. I don't engage the hips very well on the downswing. So you could see a lot of kind of me pulling the club down from the top because I'm used to being early in bowling.
Okay.
Where I get to the top of the swing and bowling pretty quick. So it has to drop early. I think it's kind of the same way timing wise in golf.
Yeah, that's a good comparison. And I agree with you on the not using the hips. We're missing out on some distance there, Darren, just so you know, once we start getting the hips.
Oh, definitely. So my goal is to fly 300 eventually. So
yes, hip bombs. I love it. Our former guest, Josh Koch, he's a long driver. He actually owns the URL to hitbombs.com. So if you want to check that site out, buy a t-shirt. That seems to be your new slogan, I think.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yes. Let's get into some quick shots now with Darren Tang before we wrap things up. You mentioned you played Cascada, which is an amazing venue. You've played a bunch with Lindsay and Marshall Kent as well, too. What is your favorite or the absolute nicest golf course you've gotten to play so far?
Oh, absolute nicest or favorites. Cascada's really hilly, so I don't know if that was my favorite to play.
Right, yeah.
Especially because, me being at the level I'm at with those.
You want a test, but you don't want too much of a test.
Yeah, those inclined, those different lies. It's just I haven't figured all that stuff out yet. But Bears Best was really nice. I've actually played. I think it's PGA West. I got lucky enough to go on a golf trip there with the grip company that sponsors me bowling. They also make golf clubs, so I got a chance to go out there. I think those were two of the nicest courses. Actually, three, including Cascada.
Definitely. Yeah. PGA West, American Express on PGA Tour as well, too. Really cool stuff.
I actually made a birdie, I think, on the 15th hole. It was one of the par threes surrounded by water.
Oh, nice. Yeah, there's a couple. One of them's famously called Alcatraz, where it's like almost 360 degrees surrounded by water, very similar to Sawgrass. So those are some awesome places to make birdies for sure. Those are the highlights you remember.
Yeah. Right? Especially because I don't make very many of them. So that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, you got to fit them in on the notable holes. So I appreciate that. Let's talk some food right now. We love #AlwaysEndWithFood to wrap up our episodes and interviews. First question surrounding your name, Darren Tang. Have you actually tried Tang, the drink mix, before?
I have. It's disgusting.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty repulsive. I was curious to get your take on it. So that's a very old school drink mix that definitely really isn't in the pop culture lexicon, but I remember it when I grew up as a kid. Not a great thing. One thing I do know you like, which I just saw you post on your Instagram, it's vitamin_D Tang. Shout out your boba order. What's your go-to order when you're going to get boba?
Ooh, I don't really have a go-to anymore. I try to stay as open-minded as possible. So I like trying different things. But a handful of the different milk teas I get are Earl Grey, Oolong, and Wintermelon. That's actually a big one for me.
Nice. I've had Earl Grey milk tea. That's awesome. I love doing a green tea mango as well, too. One of my favorite bobas to get. Nice. Important question for the bowlers out there. I always struggle with this. Do you like to eat? There's some great bowling alley food out there, as I'm sure you know, across the country. Do you like to eat before bowling or after?
Yeah, it's something I'm not very good about. I know I definitely should have breakfast in the morning, but depending on what you eat, it could affect your body in a certain way. So more often than not, especially if it's a really early block, I just fall back on protein bars and fruit.
Yeah, keep it light too. Can't mess up the hands either.
Yeah.
Very tempting. Very tempting to get the French fries, but you can't do that. I learned that the hard way.
It's pretty bad.
The final question for you, Darren, is our 19th hole question. So let's say you just got done with 18 at Cascada. You're heading into their clubhouse. It's evening, sun setting. It's the 19th hole time. What's your go-to order that you like to get after a round of golf and maybe a go-to drink as well?
That's actually a tough question for me because normally when we wrap up, we don't really hang around the course. We just go home, do our thing. I'm not a drinker either, so there I'd have to say water. But
does the body good?
I don't really have an answer for you.
That's okay. We've gotten anything ranging from the bougiest answer has been stone crabs in the clubhouse at Riviera. Okay. And then some people just say a burger or a sandwich or a salad and just keep it real simple.
Nice.
Awesome. Well, Darren, good luck with your quest to be a better golfer and also everything, of course, you're doing out on the PBA Tour. Say hi to Marshall and Lindsay when you're out with them next time.
Definitely.
And appreciate you joining the Course of Life.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
That interview with Darren Tang is brought to you by our friends at Desert Fox Golf, the makers of the Phone Caddy. It is a one-of-a-kind phone holder for golfers designed to mount right onto the golf cart. It takes literally like 5 seconds to put on your cart, and it works seamlessly with almost any phone model. Velcro's onto the cart in seconds. Slide your phone in. You're done. Keep your large and scoring apps at your fingertips. Change music, answer calls and texts, and more, all with the Phone Caddy. It is the most functional way to keep your phone safe and ready on the course at all times. And for our listeners, you can save 10% off your purchase with the promo code Course of Life. Again, that's 10% off your purchase of a Desert Fox Phone Caddy, including their patriotic line, typically excluded from any deal. So head on over to their website, desertfoxgolf.com. Use a promo code Course of Life for 10% off and get your Phone Caddy today. And we're back. Great interview there with Darren Tang. Cool to know he puts the work in to the edits on his vlogs. I could definitely appreciate that. And pretty cool that we get to actually see all the travel and everything he does as a professional athlete.
Yeah, it's neat to get behind the scenes there. And I didn't realize that, like, the bowlers, like, they're big in the vlog game, Mike. You got to check a few out. There's some channels with like tens of thousands of subscribers, and Darren's on that path as well. It's really cool to follow the videos. Takes you behind the scenes of what he's thinking, what goes into the process, how he gets his equipment ready and everything like that. So if you're a bowler, you're into that, be sure to check out his videos, and best of luck to him. I saw him on the TV show last weekend where he came up a little short, but he'll definitely be on the airwaves a lot more with his game. Definitely on the up and up.
And if you like that interview with Darren, plus everything else we do here, make sure you give us a 5-star rating and subscribe on the podcast app of your choice. If you don't like what we do here, at least subscribe. We'd appreciate that.
And
you can subscribe and
getting here too.
Don't listen to us. That's fine.
At least you got here too. Yeah.
We appreciate it. We
Thanks.
love you. It's okay if you don't love us, but we love you. You know what we do love about this time of year, though, Alex?
Yes. One of my favorite like segments to actually just do on the podcast each year.
Yes.
I really enjoy it.
Bets at the Super Bowl.
Yes. That have nothing to do with the game either.
No, nothing at all. In fact, we're going to skip that prop bet about who's going to win the MVP because we don't care.
I don't care about that at all. We already kind of voiced our thoughts on where I stand. You know, I'm siding kind of reluctantly with my Tommy boy. See if the Bucks can get it done. Won't break my heart if they don't, but I'm looking for him to get ranked number 7. There's our game preview right there. Let's get to the real important stuff that we like to talk about: the prop bets and everything surrounding Super Bowl Sunday. There's a lot of interesting ones. I will let you have the floor. Which one would you like to discuss first? And we'll kind of break things down and get some winners out here for our audience.
I actually really love the prop bet of who will be the first person thanked by the MVP.
Yes, that's right. Traditionally happens right after the MVP trophy is given. Mm-hmm. Quick first question. Sideline reporter hands the mic off. First 5 to 10 words said by the MVP genuinely give you the winner of this bet.
Yeah, it's usually a combination of either teammates or God or family, or, of course, just the fans. So I think if this is if Tom Brady wins the MVP, I think he's got to be thanking the fans and the city.
They're in Tampa Bay. He has to, right? I mean, this is basically a home game win for his 7th ring. He has to go say something Tampa Bay. How about that, Tampa? Tampa Bay, we did it. Like, it'll be something along those lines. So I agree with you there. Now, what about if Mahomes wins the MVP?
If that point, it's I think he's probably going to be thanking the teammates. I think that's true, right? Yeah,
it could be. He's a very team-first guy, just like a lot of these great quarterbacks are, but he specifically does go to that early. So based on who you're looking for to win the MVP, you're looking at one of those, I would say Chiefs teammates and a member of the Bucks, definitely the fans or the city. Let's talk Gatorade color because it's a very interesting matchup of colors in the Super Bowl. Both teams with a predominant red tone in their uniforms. You would think that makes red Gatorade the favorite. However, orange Gatorade is the slight favorite at 2-1, red at 3-1, and then clear/water at 6-1, which you and I have seen happen in recent Super Bowls. When we bet away on a specific Gatorade color, I've seen it be water. What are your thoughts on what color we could see Sunday night?
I'm feeling red. just because, I don't know what colors the Bucks and the Chiefs actually have on their sidelines, but red is their team colors. So I'm going red.
Yeah, I feel like the play is you bet away from orange, and I would maybe do a combo bet of red and clear water, or maybe I'll just go clear water, just to go against the grain with your pick there. That's the Gatorade prop. Let's get into the really important stuff. One I love to highlight is the over-under on the length of the national anthem. Traditionally, one of my favorite and most talked about prop bets each year. We have a bit of a wrinkle, Mike. 2 singers will be singing the national anthem: country superstar Eric Church and R&B soul singer Jasmine Sullivan. How do you think 2 singers might affect the length of the national anthem for the Super Bowl?
It could, if anything, make it longer, I think. So I know right now the line here is 120.5 seconds. Do you remember what the length was last year? I need some reference points.
I know there was one a couple years ago that was like 140 something. And then the one last year was like just a hair below 2 minutes. What's been happening is basically, obviously the favorite bet is it's just so fun to bet the over and just root for them to, string out every note and hope it goes as long as possible on your cell phone stopwatch and see if you win that way. I'm not going to lie. I think if this goes up another second or two, I might go against the grain and bet the under. I have a feeling, Mike, I think it could go longer because it's 2 separate singers, but I also feel like they're going to kind of yield the floor to one another. And I don't know if one is going to want to do some big elaborate finish on their own. So it might be a little bit more concise at the end, the last few lines. So check out my picks later this week. That one I'm on the fence about, the over under on the national anthem though. What else are you looking at for Super Bowl prop bets?
Well, we have first responders and healthcare workers in the crowd. They're going to be a big part of advertising as well.
Yes.
The over-under length of time after kickoff before first reference to the first responders in the stands.
Wow. I mean, why don't you talk through this and I'll go through it after you.
So the line is 179.5 seconds.
3
that
minutes.
Is so long. First of all, they're going to be referenced before the kickoff.
And so after kickoff, Mike, play it out. The kickoff happens.
So this is what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Kickoff happens. Ball is returned, or probably it's taken for a touchback.
25-yard line. Brady comes on the field. Yep.
Even before the first snap, we're seeing because we're going to show shots of fans in the crowd right away, right? Because we want to show the fans.
Exactly.
Healthcare workers right away. I think this happens in 30 seconds.
Joe Buck will he might even mention the amount of people that are in the crowd as well, too, because we're going to hear that noise. You're going to hear that first down Super Bowl crowd, even though it's only 22,000. It's going to sound like 100,000 compared to what we're used to
yes.
on the Richter scale. So that's going to happen, and he's going to immediately mention who those 22,000 are. He's going to, say it's 15,000, blah, 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 and 7,500 first, frontline workers. So I'm totally hitting the under on that. It's going to be mentioned very quickly. A couple others I wanted to headline. One that I'm definitely going to be betting: first song to be performed by The Weeknd during the halftime show. Blinding Lights is the second choice. You could pick the field out of about after a handful of his hits. 4-1 odds on Blinding Lights. That is by far and away his number one hit. Blinding Lights, the unofficial song of the pandemic. That song has been like in the top 10 of the charts for the last 10 or 11 months since COVID started. It's a hit that every single person in the world knows and will immediately identify The Weeknd to anyone that knows any music at all from the past 12 months. So I'm absolutely putting money on Blinding Lights being the first song at the halftime show.
I'm actually going to go completely against you there and say it's not going to be the first song.
You think he's going to lead in with something else maybe and build up to that?
I think we're going to end with Blinding Lights.
Okay. Well, we'll see how that plays out. I'm looking for Blinding Lights to come on immediately there. Any final thoughts on Super Bowl prop bets that you're going to be watching? Maybe if you don't even wager on, just ones that you're looking to see play out.
I just think it's interesting to see the over-under number of plays Tony Romo predicts in advance.
Oh, yes. I mean, he loves to get ahead of the curve there. He's been very wrong in the last couple of weeks. For those who've been paying attention, he's been trying to call out plays that actually haven't been happening. I think he's losing his touch, honestly.
The closer he gets to the Super Bowl, the less he knows what happens. So,
and then the other funny storyline is him and Jim Nantz. They seem to be growing a little sour on each other this season. It looks like the honeymoon phase is worn off there. Another over-under on Tony Romo saying, "Let me tell you, Jim, Let me tell you, Jim, the over-under is 2 times. He says that. I think he's going to go over because Romo's been doing a lot of mansplaining to Jim Nantz, a lot of over-the-top commentary between them in recent games. So I'm looking for the over there. Nonetheless, it's going to be a great Super Bowl weekend. Like we just illustrated, you really don't even have to enjoy the game. Enjoy the commercials. Hopefully when you pick comes on early, enjoy everything surrounding the prop bets as well, too. Should be a fun time on Sunday.
Let's hashtag AlwaysEndWithFood.
Absolutely. Brought to you by our friends at Rastelli's Meats, obviously. Got to get some meats together for Super Bowl Sunday, and our friends at Rastelli's, RASTELLIS.com. They have everything you need. Promo code GOLF10 for 10% off. Rastelli's Meats. What are your plans? What meats do you have on your mind for Super Bowl Sunday? Or are you going meatless? What are your thoughts on an itinerary this Sunday?
I haven't had a chance to really think about what to do yet because, of course, I'm still in the midst of the diet. I'm down 12 pounds now.
It's wonderful how this hits in the first week of February, right after the January diet, right? Yeah.
This may be a week where and this is also a difficult week for me in terms of my schedule because I'm actually working late most of the week. So that could really mess with what I'm eating. That said, I feel like Sunday could still be a go big or go home kind of event. We could still be doing things like a buffalo chicken dip. Something I wanted to do back in New Year's, but I wasn't able to do was bacon wrapped water chestnuts. Just always a classic.
That's right. And I did those during the holidays. You need to get on that.
I wasn't able to get whole water chestnuts, so I wasn't able to do it. The grocery store that we went to only did like sliced and diced. I was like, that's not right. So
yeah, no, that's not the real deal.
We'll make it work.
Definitely come around to that. I'm going to basically take the buffalo chicken dip that you're thinking about making, and I'm going to stuff it in a crescent roll, throw it in the oven, top it with some blue cheese. We're going to do some buffalo chicken rolls, which are going to be great. I've been dying for bread, Mike. I did go the entire month of January without bread. So I am finally getting off the schneid and having some buffalo chicken rolls. Also, I've been craving onion rings. So we're going to throw some onion rings in, maybe air fryer, maybe oven. And I'm going to make some of that wonderful dipping sauce they have for the bloomin' onion at Outback Steakhouse. If you know, you know. That's going to be on the recipe, on the menu for sure.
So what time should I be there? What time?
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to get things going probably 2-3 hours before kickoff. I got to be seated for it's 5:30 kickoff central. I got to be seated for 5 o'clock because I got all these pregame bets flying here before the ball even gets kicked off. I got action. So it'll be button seat 5 o'clock, a half an hour before kickoff. So you're welcome to attend in person or virtually as well too. Hopefully everyone out there has a fantastic Super Bowl week. Shout out to our comrades in New England as well, too. They're just getting dumped on with a horrible snowstorm right now. Don't you feel
Happy February. Here's some snow.
Exactly, yeah. So they're still digging out. Shout out to everyone up there, our friends and family listening as well, too. We'll see you all next week on The Course of Life.